All right, Mr. Greg Haugen, thank you very much for once again returning to theboxingbar.com, and welcome.
How's it going?
This past weekend, we saw Brandon Rios against Richard Avril. And Greg, I know you and I, we both agree that Richard Avril should have won that fight. We're not here to bash Brandon Rios, but we're here to take on different topics that arose because of this fight. Brandon Rios did what any fighter in history would have done, which is take that win and go to the next step in his career, with no complaints, of course. The boxing game is losing much respect due to politics or shortcuts taken by fighters who are doing anything to win or not to lose. But let's go ahead and start with the first topic, making weight. Greg, was there ever a time that you yourself had trouble making weight? Did you ever have an issue with that?
Oh, I had trouble making weight every fight. I mean, I had to lose 20 pounds between fights. It was more of a struggle for me to make weight than it was to fight. I was coming down from 155 making 135, but that's the fighter's job. That's also the manager's job to make sure that he's at weight, a couple days before fight. Roberto Garcia didn't do a very good job in making sure his fighter was that weight. If he did, then, the kid sneaking off and eating in between, when you weigh in, that's not dedication. I mean, that's one of the parts of fighting is making the weight, and I mean, that's as much of this battle right there as it is to fight. So, I mean, that's the fighter's job to make weight, and the trainer's job is to make sure that he's there. So, I think that Roberto did a pretty bad job on that end, and I've also seen him going online here trying to justify the fact that his fighter won, and I couldn't agree with him. I had to tell him that I think you're wrong, Roberto. It's a bad call. You know it, and I know it. But you got to, I could see that he's defensive and he's going to defend his fighter, of course. But for him to think that we're that stupid that we didn't see the fight. And for that Rios won the fight, that's an insult to our intelligence. I mean, anybody that's a fight fan that's been watching it long enough knows that the guy lost the fight. So, I mean, for you to sit there and tell me that, your guy won the fight, you're insulting my intelligence. So, I don't see it happening.
You said you had trouble making weight. Did you ever go to the weigh-in and actually weigh over the day of the weigh-in?
No.
Now, back when you used to fight, of course, you guys had same-day weigh-ins. Back then, what did you think of that?
Well, I thought it was great. I mean, I if I had a choice to pick the night before or the day of, I always went the day of. I mean, being a champion, when you're champion, you can make that call. So I've always found it better that, give the guys less time to recover. I mean, if you only got 12 hours to rehydrate, you're not going to rehydrate yourself in 12 hours. You're not going to do it 24 hours unless you're on an IV. But the simple fact of the matter is that's giving you one more advantage. By not letting the guy recover and not letting him rehydrate, that's an advantage for you. So, I always thought that the morning weigh-ins were the best for me. I mean, if I had a choice, I always went in the mornings for the weigh-ins and not let the guy have that much time to recover.
And the change from same-day weigh-ins to, the day before weigh-ins, what are the reasons why that was switched from same day to the day before?
I guess they think it's better for the fighters because they can recover and rehydrate. But, if you're a professional, then you don't have to worry about whether it's the night before or the day of.
And what happens when a boxer fails to make weight? What usually happens to the boxer, or how does that go?
Well, it usually goes to the other fighter. If he wants to let that weight slip, then they're going to have to pay the other guy. They're going to have to compensate him out of the other guy's purse. And I don't know that his management team did that. If they didn't, they're bigger idiots than what I thought. But they should have, any time a guy's overweight, he's either going to sweat the weight off. Bottom line is, when it was up to me, I don't want the money. I want you to sweat. Okay? I don't want the extra money. I want you to have to sweat your ass off because it's going to benefit me. Okay, I mean, it's not good for you to be out there sweating if you're overweight, you're weak, and you're tired. I mean, you still got to go out and sweat off a pound. That's a lot of weight, man. I mean, a pound's a lot. If you got 2 pounds, I think he's 2 pounds overweight. So, if you're 2 pounds overweight, and you still have to go sweat that off, that's a motherfucker because, you're tired, you're weak, you're hungry, you're dehydrated, you don't get the sweat as good, you don't get the sweat going. my thing is I'm going to make you sweat it off. I'm not taking any extra money. I want you to sweat. I want you to make the weight. I made the weight. Okay, I sacrificed what I had to do to make the weight. I starved. I fucking killing myself to make the weight. Now it's your job to make the weight. Okay, I don't want the extra money you want to give me. I want you to have to sweat because that's going to benefit me. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the facts of the weigh-in were, but I know if I was Abel's manager, I would have been making a Rio sweat it off. I wouldn't have taken the extra money. And if you don't want to sweat it off, then we don't have a fight.
I agree with you 100% on that. Let's go to topic number 2, judging. First of all, so the audience knows, did you ever get a bad decision yourself?
Oh, yeah, I've had a few of them. I had one in Providence against Vinny. They out and out robbed me, and I won a 15-round fight, beat him up, and they robbed me in his hometown, and fought him 6 months or 3 or 4 months later and beat him up even worse, and they gave it to me because it was in Atlantic City, and I had some better judges. But, yeah, I mean, the second Camacho fight, I know I won that fight. He even left the ring knowing that he lost the fight, and they gave it to him. So, yeah, I've been in the middle of some bad calls, but, the bottom line is you're a professional. You have to keep going on, and you just got to suck it up. Nobody's going to feel sorry for you. Bottom line is, it's your job, and, if you're not making it as a 9-to-5 job, you're going to be doing something, you're going to have to find another job. So, if Rios can't make weight at 135, well, obviously dumb fuck needs to move up to 140.
How does this affect a boxer when you get a bad call? How does it affect them physically, professionally, or motivation-wise? I mean, when they mess with somebody like that or give them a bad decision, they could really fuck up their lives.
Well, yeah, I mean, he can, Abel can take it two ways, okay? He can either sit back and feel sorry for himself and know that he got robbed, or he can go out and make some noise about it and start kicking some ass and taking some names and letting people know that he got robbed. And then it just ain't going to go away. But, like I said, online, people aren't going to remember this in a month or two. They're going to remember it was a bad call, but, they're not going to be talking about it much. I just think it's a bad, it's just all around bad for boxing because of the fact that it's turning fans away from us. It's another black eye to boxing. So.
Now I remember bringing on, I know the next fighter you might know is Ruben Castillo, and I've had him on here. I've had him on here, and he was pretty much going off on this topic about judging and who judges should be, and there's certain judges he doesn't, or he wants to try to get out of boxing even now. But, he went as far as saying, to have some of those judges checking accounts or bank accounts be checked into, or do some kind of, extensive background checks on them, or even putting ex-fighters or trying to put ex-fighters as judges because they know what it's like to get robbed, or, they know what it could do to a boxer. Do you think that would be going the right route?
Well, it's hard to tell what these judges really know. I mean, there's no school for them to go to prove that they're knowledgeable. I mean, it's, they're taking, the commissions are, most of these guys are just idiots that are fight fans, that think they know about boxing, and, and they're put in charge of judging, they're judging your fight. And most of them aren't comparable, They're just, it's different in every state. It's frustrating because the fact that, the commissions we don't have a national commission. We don't have a thing where you gotta do this or prove that you're that to be a judge. You say, hey, I'm a judge. All of a sudden they're, okay, you're a judge. Well, prove that you're a judge. Prove that you're knowledgeable about boxing. Prove that you know anything about it. None of them are. So it's I don't see it happening. I don't see anything happening for a while because of the fact that they don't have a competent commission in most of these states. It used to be when Nevada had the best commission in the country, and now they're becoming a laughing stock too. So it's hard to say what's got to be done to make it right. Because most of these guys are just idiots that don't know what the hell they're doing. And it's their opinion. So it's going to be tough to overturn that fight. That's not impossible. The only thing he's going to be able to do is raise enough stink and fucking raise enough hell that people are going to actually listen to him, so where they're going to say, hey, the kid deserves a rematch. But, I'd almost guarantee you Rios and Garcia aren't going to give him another fight because they know how tough the last fight was, and they know that Rios lost, so they're going to get away from that kid. They're not going to go back around him. They don't want no part of him, so it's frustrating.
Ex-fighters becoming judges. Do you think that would be a good thing to do?
Well, I don't think it could hurt. I don't think it could hurt at all. I mean, you got some of these guys that are making, $50,000 a year, and you got a promoter that'll come along and pay him $100,000 to make sure his guy wins. Well, that's twice as much money as he's making in a year doing nothing. So, I've always thought, they should look into something like that. But, it's just, it's hard to do. I mean, there's a lot of guys out there, it would be a hard thing to do. So, I don't know. I just, I think there's something needs to be done. We need to have judging schools or something to prove these guys competent.
And let me throw a few fights at you and see what you would be like as a judge. Sugar Ray Leonard, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, or who do you think won that fight?
Oh, there's no question Hagler won the fight.
Yeah, I agree with that one, too. How about your two ex-opponents of yours, Pernell Whitaker, Julio Cesar Chavez?
Oh, Whitaker won that fight easy.
Oscar De La Hoya and Felix Trinidad.
Well, I thought Trinidad won the fight, but, I thought that fight was closer than the other two that you had said. But, there's just been a lot of bad calls over the years, and it's hard for us to keep putting up with them.
And you brought up something real interesting about clinching a little bit ago. There's been clinching going on in, the last month or so, with James Kirkland against that guy, Carlos Molina, where there was a whole lot of clinching in that. Of course, this past weekend, there was a lot of that, too. Is there a technique or is there something a boxer could do to avoid that?
Well, if the guys are holding you, it's just because you're letting them hold you. There's a lot of ways of getting out of being held. And one of them is pulling your arm out and punching with it. If you're letting a guy hold you, it's because, you're letting him. If I didn't want a guy holding me, I ain't going to let a guy hold me. I'm going to pull my arm out and I'm going to start punching. Because a lot of the judges or a lot of the refs will let you fight until, you're clinched. But if you got one hand free, it seems like a lot of them are letting you fight now. And, I don't buy the fact that, he's holding you. He's holding you because you're letting him hold you. If there's things that you can do to keep a guy from holding you, and that's what you got to do. You can't be letting this guy hold you and beat me in the fight.
Thank you very much once again, Mr. Haugen. Thank you very much for your time, and thanks for coming back on, my man.
Take care, man.